All right, we've got Dustin here from Thrice. Then you guys just released Horizons West. Now 4 years since Horizons East, and I wanted to talk to you about this album because it's an interesting one, and it gets you to think. And I think that's something that a lot of rock right now, a lot of music really doesn't get people to think. So, what was the thought that got you to get us to start thinking in this?
I think that is just my MO is I I only deal in the deep things. It's just kind of how I've always been wired, and yeah, I like thinking about big questions, and it comes out in the music. But
Yeah,
this
the
one, this one is no different, but it is also maybe more consistently heavy in certain ways, in that it's kind of taking that big central metaphor of the setting sun and weaving that through the record, which ends up getting us to talk about mortality and all sorts of fun stuff like that.
it is very fun to talk about it because it is life's greatest question. And I saw you're inspired by a book that I just had up on my other screen, and I forgot what it is. But the book, I'm going to take a pause because
Was
I
it?
want to
Yeah, do
sound right when I say this.
it.
But the book Always Coming Home,
Mm.
from Ursula K. Le Guin. What is that book to you, and how did that inspire this album?
Yeah, she is probably my favorite author in the world, and I didn't even start reading her until maybe like 5, 6 years ago. I don't know why it was never on my radar, but she's just amazing, very, very skilled writer and wise and thoughtful. And this is a really weird book, and it's kind of a fictitious future ethnology of a like Northern California people, like after everything's collapsed and is kind of rural and rebuilding. And so it's very interesting, but it there's elements in it that deal with dying, and they have these songs for people who are going west, as they call it. And there's this idea there of one of us is going west to the sunrise. I'm probably messing up somehow, but I like that idea of tying in the idea of death and rebirth together. But yeah, it's a lovely book, but I highly recommend her Earthsea series is a good place to get in there.
Right on. Well, I'm definitely, I love the idea of like earthly fantasy, but also like beyond where we're even like capable of imagining it. You can't physically picture what will all be like after an apocalyptic event. Where what would we do in like cast into certain situations? But using the imagery that we get from that to think of like what happens after we reach that sunrise or the sunset. That's some deep stuff.
Yeah, it's thank you. I'm glad you're digging it.
There's one song that sticks out to me, that I want to know what the like the deeper meaning or even like the inspiration for was is Albatross, because it
Hmm.
feels very contradictory in a way where like people say that we're star-crossed, and then it's like kind of like pushing back on that in a way with the lyrics. What is that song like? What's the story for that one?
Yeah, I mean it's not one specific thing, but there's bits of kind of autobiographical stuff woven in with a bunch of different imagery. But I think that the core kind of thing in the chorus that everything's building around is this um, idea of using the albatross as more of a good luck symbol, which it originally was, even in this old poem, the Rime of the Ancient Mariner. But in that poem, the sailor kills the albatross, so it becomes this terrible omen that and the shipmates make him wear it around his neck, and it curses them all. And but that only happened because he did something really stupid and mean, and so there's this idea there that I'm playing with, that we sometimes make our own bad luck, and there's a way to keep something good and actually something that's a blessing and not a curse. Yeah, so the rest of the lyrics are playing with these ideas of really kind of dark images and bright images going back and forth frenetically, um, and then leaning into this idea of like there is a way to invest in the good things in your life and not make your own bad luck worse.
It's a like you said, it's deep and it's stuff that you've been diving in for a lot of the records. I mean, that it always feels like even if there's a song that you've got on a record that might make like Black Honey, if we look back to 2016, that obviously is a very not a very happy outlook to the future type of thing, but there always does seem to be a bit of hope in your music, especially in the newer releases. Is that, and I saw you were saying something, as we grow older, our brains we get more mature, or like they grow and become more intellect. Is that something that you really want to lean into?
Yeah, I mean, I think as far as the threading and the hope, I've I've gotten comfortable with like letting certain songs really not be there, as long as there's a bigger context on the records that I am weaving it in, because that it's very important to me. But I think I used to try to get every song out of it, out of the dark place, and I think sometimes you got to sit in it to really deal with what's there. But yeah, this one, this record is people, a lot of people comment it's really dark, but I really feel like there's some very hopeful moments there, and paths to follow. And I think that they're difficult paths because they're kind of paths through the darkness. And so I feel like the core of all this imagery on the record is the song "The Dark Glow," and it's right in the middle of the record, and right in the middle of that song, I think you have kind of the key that's um, turning a lot of this, and it turns that song, it shifts the meaning as you go into the last chorus. It's got these different chords and slightly different words, and but that little crux in there is, what if all we thought was darkness was instead the truest light? What if all we feared was empty, was the fullness of our life? And I think a lot of times there are things that we're afraid of diving into, that if we go through them, if we move through those difficult things, if we let go of some control, if we embrace some uncertainty, um, there's something beyond those things that is beautiful, and I think more fulfilling, better than the place that we were at when we started.
It's beautiful. That's what is so great about music. It's so moving beyond that and beyond words. You said with the chords and the way that the guitars and stuff are playing. But I want to talk a little bit about the sound, because you have the sound of the album, the guitars, the bass, everything. Obviously, it's very picked for a reason. But the in the song Nash at the end, that breakdown, it almost sounds
Mhm.
like it's going backwards. What was the how'd you come up with the sounds for that?
Backwards, like in time in our catalog, or
Like
like
no, I
backwards
mean
in,
like
oh,
the
like it's
sound. It
sucking out.
sounds like
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
sucking in. Yeah,
So that whole song was kind of built off of this sound that I made on my guitar pedal, which is the Helix, Line 6 Helix, but so it's, amp modeling, all that. But there was this old um, synth kind of thing that you could run your guitar through, and then I like pitch shifted it, uh, and it sounds really cool. So I found that sound. I was like, I have to make something with this. It already has this motion, so it's doing this like, and I think essentially the synth is just shooting the sound up like an octave every time you restart it. Which it didn't sound great before I dropped it an octave, and then it put all these weird artifacts in it. It sounds really cool. So yeah, the whole song's built off that. And then when you hit the end, that sound just comes back and it's still going, but you've got the double bass break going under it. And yeah, so that's fun. That was the first time we've had like a double bass break since like Artist the Ambulance, like over 20 years ago. And we just, we had just revisited that record after the anniversary. And I think doing a lot of that played into opening some of those old avenues up to us. But yeah, allowing us to approach them in different ways and ways that were exciting for us.
Far out. I'm glad that you did revisit Artist in the Ambulance. Obviously, a life changing record for many people, and for you. I mean, obviously for you guys. Um, you said it influenced it. You did like re-record it all the way through.
Mhm.
Why?
Yeah, we re-recorded because we had always had certain issues with that, even though it's like, it's probably our most well-known record. It was just, a lot of things were happening in the industry at the time, and it was all coming together. And it, I think it's a good record, but we really didn't love the mix on it in the end. And then also just we'd been playing those songs for 20 years now, and they've adapted with us, and just um, we're better musicians. And there's just a lot of little things where like it actually could be fun to record this, and it was hard to figure out how do we do that while keeping true to what people have loved about it. And in the end, we just decided let's just record it the way that we play it now. So it's a bit looser in a good way, and I feel like it's heavier. It just feels more cohesive and more. It can breathe a little more. But yeah, I think that was it was a good way to thread the needle. And it was fun to do.
It's fun to listen to. I appreciate that you guys are out on the road. Going to be making some Midwest stops. The tour kicks off shortly, doesn't it? Or it has.
It kicks off in like a week, like little under 2 weeks. So yeah, we're really looking forward to it. Playing a decent amount of the new record. The response to the record just seems to be super positive, and we're really excited about it. I think, you can work so hard at every record and uh, give it your all, but sometimes, something magic just happens, and I feel like that's kind of happened with this record. So
Right on. Well, before I let you go, you were working on the set list before we started this interview. So,
I
like,
was, yeah.
what's the set list looking like? Can we get any hints? Any surprises gonna pop out?
Um, yeah, trying to pepper a lot of the new songs in there, not too many. But and then yeah, I mean, it's hard with how many freaking songs we have at this point. 12 records worth. So it's difficult, but we're putting a lot of the fan favorites in there, and trying to get some representation from a lot of the records at least. So
Right on. Well, Dustin, thank you so much for your time. Look forward to seeing you out on the road.
awesome. Thanks so much.